What's good, everybody? We're back with another Bobby Rex video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. So we're back on the breakdown slash reaction slash analysis of the stage 5 gameplays. Obviously, the main ones that we've been focusing on this channel have been for the Eastern region, because to me that was the more entertaining region. It had the better storylines. You had some underdogs making some big moves. And today we're going to be looking at one of those underdogs who obviously made it pretty far in the actual competition. But Blacklist International going up against Q9. I don't think many people expected them to win this matchup, let alone the entire thing. So we'll take a look at the round 11, because this is actually, as far as storylines go, a super crucial one. I felt like overall Blacklist did not play this round 11 very well at all. So obviously tied 5-5 right now. You can see they're sitting way back, gathering pretty much no information. You got 3 people inside of blue. Obviously, minimap is going to be one thing you guys want to look at a lot when we're breaking these things down, because it tells a lot more of the story than the actual player POVs. And obviously, you can see right here, they got scared, but even he's not getting that much information. I think he's just trying to jump hop and find some information. You can see, because nobody's watching this push up to A, Blacklist is just 100% banking on their ability to retake right here, but because they have no information, they don't know where to move until you get the Q9 players already pushed out. You got one on tank, you got one watching the rotation from backside of Grandma's, and they're just sitting around shooting thumpers over top. This was something that I felt like they messed up a lot, and they finally got it right, not necessarily in this matchup, but in the later matchups. And was a big reason that they were able to win is because they were able to make those big plays in their round 11. So you can see it's 17 seconds left before they finally take somebody out, and they're getting picked off left and right because they're trying to push against Q9 players on head glitches. Jabin finds one right there, but it's D-Chen there to defend, and they don't even have enough time to defend. I think even if D-Chen hadn't gotten the defuse right, or hadn't gotten the kill right there, they wouldn't have had enough time to defuse. So that felt like a very big misplay, but they bounced back really, really big in the next game. So obviously, after that, you go into the hard point. And, or not into the hard point. We go into the domination. So right here, I was incredibly impressed. And apparently, Garena loves crossfire domination, which is hilarious to me because it's one of the worst domination maps in the entire game. It's incredibly lopsided. One thing you'll hear us talk about a lot in the actual commentary is how you have Q9 starting on strong side, but because Eji, Jabin, and Kenshi are all pushed up, you got the entire team pushed up past that B flag, which is typically the toughest spot to get to. And because of that, they force Q9 to rotate from the weaker side, where it's more difficult to win the gunfights, because you have that head glitch on the lower ground that you can work with, and it just makes it a lot easier, or a lot more difficult to dictate the pace of the game from the top side. So Eji is going to get taken out. I think Q9 might actually get the cap right here. Can't entirely remember. Actually, it's huge for Tin. He's going to get taken out. Yeah, I believe they do get it. And it goes back and forth a number of times. No, that's right. There was a god nade from Skurd right there. That was huge. It held it off for a little bit. Obviously not long enough to actually maintain control, but because there's players taken out, he can push up, get B building control, and just like that, 2 players push on in, and they're able to get it. And just so much of this is because of how good their map control is, and having players lurk on those strong side buildings. You get Jabin taken out right there, but he's distracting. Eji tucked back in this corner. That's one that we saw. What am I trying to say? What was the team? ARP in NA. ARP were the kings of this map, and the way that they were able to control that little dumpster area right there. Now, obviously, that was with the shorty, which gave them even a more significant advantage. Naluo doing everything he can right here. And honestly, I feel like Naluo was the most underrated player in this tournament, because as soon as Q9 lost a game, and I felt like the entire fan base turned against them, you know? Like, I feel like because there was one player on Q9 that was trash talking, the entire fan base just turned against Q9 as a whole and decided that they were going to hate on the entire team, when it was literally just one kid trash talking. The rest of them were like, yeah, we have good teamwork. Our coaches are good. Blacklist getting taken back. This is going to be a huge triple, but actually potentially a costly one, because you're going to start to see a lot of the Q9 operators come out, and the usage of the operators, especially in a crossfire domination, is such an important factor, especially when you think about who's going to be on weak side in the second half. So you see D-Chen is going to pull out his Sparrow right there as well. So you see two Sparrows already out of the equation. Every Sparrow that you can get out of the way, and Tang's pulling his out. So we've seen 3 Sparrows go into play for Q9, which in my opinion was a huge misplay. They're doing it to try to maintain that B control, which obviously you want to do, but the tougher thing to do is get B control in the second half for them. So if you're able to get score streaks, it'll pay off a little bit. D-Chen is able to get max score streaks right there, but I don't think Tang was able to. Island still got his to work with, but he's only got 5 kills on the board. So for those of you who don't know, Island was the guy that trash talked in the team intro video or whatever it is. He definitely, he had a lackluster day too, I would say. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think he was just trash talking for fun. Like, I don't think he genuinely believed that there was nobody in the competition that could give them a challenge. I think he was just having fun with it, but you know what? To each their own. Obviously, off the start, you got Blacklist players pushing in. Skurd winning that gunfight on the inside of B building is going to be huge. He's not able to get traded. Naluo goes topside. Naluo has some big streaks to work with right here, but he's already used his Sparrow as well. So because all the Sparrows are out of the equation, or at least 3 of them are out of the equation for Q9, Blacklist is able to push in, and pretty much 1 Sparrow is going to be enough for them to be able to get B control. So right off the start, as expected, you get Blacklist getting that B cap, and I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see more SKSs in play. We saw Heaven using the M67 AMAX, which I will say I underrated. I tried it out yesterday. It's actually still very, very good. I don't think it's as good as the SKS, but it's still definitely viable. But I'm really curious to see what would have happened had he mastered the SKS a little earlier, because I don't think really many people paid attention to the SKS until like a week or 2 before, when a lot of the Western players were trying to get it banned because Space and some of the EU players had started to master it. So obviously, Blacklist maintaining the way that they've spaced out their operators, I think, is a big factor in why they're able to hold this for so long, even with a bunch of these score streaks coming in. I believe Skurd has a cluster strike to work with right there as well. Not sure that he called it in. And I know at some point Q9 ends up taking this control back. I'm assuming it's probably right here with the sentry gun going down. But you can see oh my god. And that sentry gun's actually huge, because people don't really tend to run cold-blooded in competitive, just because persistence is not in play, and there's not a whole lot of score streaks that are going to be impacted by cold-blooded outside of the sentry gun, I believe. Obviously, cluster strikes go down. Tin, I think, defending through a cluster strike right there, which is really, really huge. So now that it's gone, he's able to push down. He's got Jabin there for backup as well. And the teamwork for this team is just so good. You can see Edgy is right. I'm trying to... Where's my mouse? There he is. Edgy's right there. He's basically solo defending against everybody from Q9 that's trying to get that push for the C flag. So you can see... He could potentially be the game saver right here. This could be the play that actually won the entire game. He takes out Island right there. He's able to kind of distract them for long enough that his teammates are able to back him up. Had Q9 been able to get that C flip, they probably win the game right there, because more than likely the retaliation from Blacklist would have been A, and that's a super risky play to make. And they get B control, I believe, right here, but I think it's too late, and Blacklist is able to push back in. Because the operator distribution, they're still able to get B control right here. But just an absolute clinic on how to play crossfire domination out of Blacklist. I was super impressed by this. Obviously, Island having a subpar game is 7-23, but same for Kenshi, like 8-17. It's really all about the teamwork for Blacklist International. So like I said, very impressive. That moves them in to the hard point on Summit. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think this one was actually super close. Thinking back to it, there's not a ton, and I'll say Blacklist off the start of the hard points looks super strong every time. I was really impressed by how dominant they were on the majority of their P1s. We saw it on Raid, I think in the first game of this matchup as well. But their initial map control in most situations looks really, really good. Q9's gonna get some time right here. Talked before about the he concussed himself. Talked before about the Fennec coming into play. Obviously, the Fennec made its way into my top 5 guns. For those of you who haven't watched, top 5 guns in season 11 is up on the main channel right now. But I mean, look at the KDs. 3 people in double positive right now for Blacklist, and that tells you most of what you need to know when it comes to the start of a hard point. Kin, I think, gets a big hold right here. He's the only one of the hard point for Blacklist. He's kind of jiggle peeking that bottom doorway. It's all about the teamwork. They're so good at waiting for their teammates to come reinforce rather than trying to get these solo holds, these solo pushes. Big push for D-Chen right there, but he doesn't get the read on the inside, and Tin wins another one. And this is one of the hard points that's just pure chaos because there's so many points of entry for utility, which is a big reason why most teams don't really worry that much about how much time they're getting on the hard point right there. There are a lot more focus, as you're going to see from Ruan right here, on getting control of spawns for P3. I think he's actually able to get control, but I'm not sure if he wins this gunfight up against Kenshi. He does. So this is actually huge for Q9. That being said, the majority of the gunnies were going the way of Blacklist. So this is, even though they're down pretty big, a really good start for Q9 right here. Island still not playing as well as we would have expected from somebody that trash talked as much as he does. But, you know, it could be a lesson. Or it could just be that my guy loves trash talking, you know? But Blacklist push-in is so freaking good. Tang gets a massive triple right there. Naluo follows up. I don't know how there's anybody left in there. How does Kenshi how do they still defend that? Okay, so they do call in 2 sparrows of their own. I guess that's how they do it. I think D-Chen is trying to get control of spawns right there, but Blacklist is so good with the sparrows. I'm curious I can't really remember what operators got banned in the later games. I'm curious to see if teams start banning the sparrow against Blacklist. I want to say it was pretty much sparrows all the way through. It felt like it. Although there's not any gravity vortexes in play, so maybe it ends up being sparrow banned in the later games, because I do remember a lot of gravity vortex plays in some of those later games. The fact that Blacklist was able to break that so effectively, even with that quad feed from Q9, once again, incredibly impressive. And the thing for Q9 is, like, fundamentally, they weren't doing a whole lot wrong. It was a lot of just losing their gunfights. So you can see they're early rotated on the majority of the hard points. That time that they lost on the first one was definitely hard for them to deal with. They're able to get spawns back and get control of the hard point for a little bit right there, but I think a lot of the team gunfights factored into the way that Blacklist was able to play the way that they did as well. I'd be curious to see the overall stats, how many assists they had compared to everybody else. We had like a full stat sheet that I think was bugged. I think there's a bug in the API that for one team it like doubles the numbers for everybody, because we had a team that was very similar to that in the Western region. Navi had basically like the top 5 slayers and didn't make it to day 2. That was similar to what we had for Blacklist. They had all of the top 5 kill counts, which just didn't make any sense because they weren't really that dominant in day 1. So if we could get that sorted, I would be very curious to look at the stats. But they just look so solid all the way across. And right now, I mean, look at the sling. Q9 -5, -6, -2 across the board, with the exception of Edgy. Most of the time, that's another thing that I talked about that factored into Blacklist's success so much. There wasn't one player that they really had to bank on popping off in order to get the win. Obviously, Skurd was the MVP. He was probably the most consistent, but even in the games where Skurd had an off game, you would have other players that would go really big and have huge games. And that's why like if I was going to give an overall tournament MVP, obviously they gave it to Skurd because he was the best player on the #1 team. But if I was going to give an overall tournament MVP, I wouldn't give it to anybody on Blacklist, not because they weren't that good, but because their teamwork was so much more of a factor than a valuable player. So if I was going to give an MVP, I'd probably give it to Heaven, just because, like, if I'm talking about MVP, I'm thinking, if your team didn't have you, how much worse would they have done? Edgy with a big play right there. I think that seals the deal. Ruan gonna be able to contest, but this is one that wasn't really all that close. It was all Blacklist all the way through. They take down the Kings of China, and this was they found the hole in Q9's armor and they split it wide open right there. Super impressed with the way they played this one. Probably next video we'll take a look at, which won't be in this one, but it's gonna be Q9 against Vox, I believe. We'll be breaking that down, so make sure to subscribe if you guys want to see that one. Make sure to drop a like if you guys are enjoying the videos, and we'll see you guys in the next one.